We got a great show coming up for you today. Electronics firm says it expects the PS5 Pro and the new Xbox Series consoles by 2024. Let's get into the news right now. Everybody, welcome to Xbox A. I'm one of your hosts, Matt. Joining me, as always, Dark Knight of Xbox, the big man himself, Mr. Court. Howdy, ho, sir. It's been a while. I missed you.
It feels like it's been forever.
It's been a while.
Whoa, that DMCA. Don't DMCA.
All right,
yep.
fine.
So, we're getting new consoles and people still haven't got the new ones. We're getting new consoles.
New. You need the new.
New. I don't think this should come as a shock to anybody. I truly believe that this was planned well in advance of the launch of even the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. Yeah. This is one of those, this shouldn't be a shock. I know there's a lot of clapback I saw on social media, but I think there's clapback on everything. Xbox can say hello and people are like, how dare you say that? So it is what it is with these. These are going to come out as soon as they possibly can. The article is saying the company, which reportedly ranked second in global TV market in terms of sales and volume in 2019, revealed its forecast for the console industry on Wednesday during a presentation attended by Polish site PPI.pl. During the press event, which was used to showcase TLC's latest TVs, a company representative said they expect Gen 9.5 to arrive by 2024. So Gen 9.5 would be new Xbox,
PS5
new PlayStation.
Pro, PS6, but probably PS5 Pro and a new Xbox Infinity console.
Yeah, what are you going to... So we have the X, we have the S, the XS?
They got to get out of that.
XL.
The XL.
The XL. There you go.
But this is not, like you said, this isn't surprising because we live in a time where it's just pump out hardware. And on Xbox side, we can speak to that. We can speak to both. But on the Xbox side, their strategy overall is less to do with the consoles and it's more with Game Pass. The console is secondary. Why not put out another piece of hardware where the X and the S especially were very successful? Very successful. So, and to your point, Xbox and PlayStation would have a longer roadmap than the general public looks at. They will have a 5-10 year roadmap. Literally, they will have somebody in Microsoft has that PowerPoint where it goes, here's the X and S launching, and then our plan is 2023 to do this, 24, 28, and so on, because they're a business. They would have that in the pipeline, and they would have R&D already manufactured, built a prototype for the next bunch of consoles.
So the manufacturer suggests the unannounced consoles will provide gameplay in 60 to 120 frames per second at resolution of 2160p and offer the ability to play in 8K. Sounds a lot like what we currently already have.
I was going to say, don't we already have that option?
Yes, and I also look at like the fact that not many TVs support it, but I do look at the fact that probably they're only a year behind, and regardless, put my business cap on here.
Yeah.
If they can't make enough consoles because people can't stop buying them, if you put out a new shiny, people will want the new shiny. Regardless whether they had the old shiny, they'll want the new shiny, and then they'll start selling their old shinies, and then that will bring even more consoles into the marketplace. And for Xbox, that means more Game Pass subscriptions. If people start selling their old consoles, that just gets a new Game Pass subscription.
If I can get S for $150, $200.
It is all about the do-re-mi, and that's all they care about. Is as much as you're like, oh, this, that, they don't care. They want your money, and it makes sense. If I'm in business, I'd want your money too. So, given the platform, it's also said to expect PS5 Pro and the new Xbox Series XS consoles to come with equivalents to the upcoming AMD Radeon RX 770 GPU. Given the platform holders' current inability to meet demand for PS5 and Xbox Series X due to global chip shortages, TLC's forecast for mid-gen hardware refresh soon might appear optimistic, unless perhaps redesigned consoles offer manufacturing advantages. There's more to the article. Yeah. We'll have it in there from VGC here. The person who wrote the article is Tom Evan. I look at it this way. It's all about scalability. If they can do it, they will. And I truly look, okay, here's the new expensive high tier. It's just like we get a new iPhone every year. Everybody buys them.
Yeah, they're more than a console. It's it's double the Series S. But yeah, it happens. It's inevitable. I understand that from the consumer side, and when we're talking about consoles, it feels like the shelf life is much shorter this time around. Like oh my gosh, we're already talking about a new Xbox and PlayStation. What the heck? Well, if regardless of chip shortages, they're getting easier and easier to make because they're just PCs. So it's not the days of PlayStation 3 where you have a completely different architecture in there that you're like, hey, this thing does take 8-10 years to develop, to build and go through, and it's just a different time. And frankly, I don't see the problem because there's a market, like you said. People are going to buy the new shiny toy, even if somebody on Twitter is going to be like, oh my gosh, they just released the X 2-3 years ago. What do you mean you're coming out with a new box? Well, that's great. Then don't buy it. Stick with your current hardware. Because Xbox is going to sit there and go, that's fine. You already bought the other console. That's cool. Do you got Game Pass? Great. That's fantastic. Keep getting Game Pass for us. They don't care.
You don't have to buy it.
You don't have to buy it. The PlayStation 5, I have it. It's fantastic. It doesn't get used a lot. It's my first party machine. If you came out with a PlayStation 5 Pro, I'd have to know what the spec, even for Xbox, I'd have to know what the spec difference is truly going to be. Is it going to be this giant jump in performance? Probably not. But I look at things like Unreal Engine 5, where games are getting developed and they are pushing the boundaries. You need that architecture to kind of say, hey, over the next 5 years, this is the direction of the tech. I might grab it a year, 2025 in the holiday season.
My guess is like load times come back unless you get the new console.
Well, because the game, it's just that game of like, the game goes up.
Nice shiny new TV. I bet you that new nice shiny Xbox would look really nice and shiny on that nice new TV.
But I have no problem with it where it's like, hey, if you told me that the vast majority of the 2024, let's say 2025 games that are going to come out in that time frame are going to be 120 frames per second and optional 8K on select first parties because they do it, they dev for it. I would be like, cool, then I want it. I want to future-proof my console experience because that's what I want. But if I don't want to, I don't have to. It's all good. It's all good, brother.
Yeah. There's a lot to it, but I think everybody is blowing it up and getting angry pants over nothing. I don't get it. It's just the last 2 weeks, everybody just needs to touch some grass. Don't want it, don't buy it. Like, it's not going to ruin the games you want. Both Xbox and Sony have proven the last couple years that they're going to make the game on both consoles run just as beautifully. I played Horizon on a PS4 and it looked amazing. No big deal, man.
And
like,
the console cycle,
whatever.
I know is like, you look at this guy standing here for the conference and he got 2013 to 2017, 17 to 20, and 20 to 23, 24. You are on a 3 to 4 year dev cycle.
Exactly.
Like, it's not surprising. We're looking at Xbox One to Series X and S, and I had the Xbox One, and I was clamoring for the X. I needed it. I had the in-between.
If they can go a year and a half or a year, they do it. They do it.
Of course they would, but they can't justify it to say, here's your 1080p to 4K at 60, and now here is your 4K 60 to 120. People will destroy them if they said, what is the one update? And if they said, slight HDR enhancements and says 120.
So I would buy it if, say, every game runs 120. And then,
but that's not up to the console. That's up to the dev.
Exactly. And they did say that the Xbox Series X was going to do that, but most games run at 60. There are a lot of 120 games, but most games run at 60. And my guess is they make this new super duper console. Every game runs at 120 if it is available. And they'll just make the Xbox Series X version the 60 frames per second. You should
I do. Yeah.
There's going to be these stages, and as people that buy electronics, none of this should come as shock. It's just, it is what it is at this point.
And they look at like the GPU, as well as just the, like, when they say like, hey, the next gen 9.5 is looking at 8K and an updated GPU. It's because they're not only looking at what games are doing, but they're looking at just the tech space in general, where TVs can perform 8K, or they will look at what the trend is and where 8K will come into effect. And they'll look at something like, okay, in about 8 to 10 years, 8K is going to be pretty standardized in the market. And it will be like 4K is today, where people say, yeah, I still got 1080p. We're just starting to cycle over into 4K and getting OLEDs and all this updated tech on our TV side and on our monitors. it'll be the same rotation when it comes to 8K. So they're just future proofing. You'll have a 9.5 gen, and then the 10 gen will be 120 with an RX 87 XT and 8K standard with 120 frames locked and some other feature. And then Xbox slaps in the difference. But it does come down to the devs because we play a bunch of indie titles on our Series X. That
I don't. I play MLB The Show. It's a AAA first party all day, like literally all day.
Yeah, I play that
way
in
too much of this
Forza
game.
Horizon. And
So I do play the indie games. That's for another video, the at Game Pass. But whatever, man. Just I'll buy it. I'll say it right now. New console comes out. I'm getting it.
I'll buy it. I'll challenge you. I'll go get one first.
There you go.
But I'd love to see what they would name it from just the marketing side and just their builds. I'd love to know what
XL just
Xbox
makes
will.
way more sense.
It does at this point. You call it the XL and the SL.
So let us know in the comments. Does this matter to you? Did you see this as a surprise? Would you buy one? Are you upset about this? Let us know.
See ya.